Much more, but first, I'd like us to begin with the press conference of the outgoing Auditor General, Edward Ouko, that's currently underway. Let's cross over and listen in live.
Were some of the places where Mwananchi money was being spent on, looking at the books for the last 8 years, where have you found money to have been spent where it shouldn't have been spent, or the amounts that were spent shouldn't have been spent on that particular item?
I think that's a very targeted question because it's too specific, but I can talk very generally. Wastage is still there. Wastage is still there. And therefore, please, even if I raise them year in, year out, don't despair, because at a point in time and with the processes we have, you, the people, will start saying, no, we want more accountability. We want more response to the auditor on these issues. And that's where we are going. That's until we get the citizens to start holding us responsible and questioning and arming them appropriately. We will be making small gains, but not big ones, which we require in wastage, in abuse of resources, and others. Yeah.
Every year you produce a number of reports, which eventually end up in Parliament. Do you think Parliament has been supportive enough in ensuring that it was a report?
There is a lot more which we still have to work on in terms of the institutions to get to a desired point where the auditor's report leads to instant action. As you know, right now, as we are set up, and I'm glad we may have to review the constitution of these issues again. As we are set up, I do the report, give it to PAC. PAC deliberates on the report, prepares another report on my report to be presented, and those reports are not actionable until it is adopted by the House. And of course, that process of adoption then is mined with all sorts of politics and so forth. So the whole thing is not working, at least from where I stand. It means, what does it mean? It means who should act, because my recommendation is then lead to another recommendation, which then leads on to a political discussion on the floor of the Parliament. So, do you see why there is a need to review that? There is a need, once the auditor has raised a recommendation or an issue, it is what action do we take? Recovery, is it administrative, or people fired? And that's it. That's a stop. And that's the way it will. But as the way we arranged, even PAC does good work in interrogating the report, but they just interrogate. So
how has this undermined your work over the years? Because even as you talk about reports being in the relevant committees of Parliament, more often than not we see politics at play. At the end of the day, they continue to gather dust afterwards. How has this extensively undermined your work as Auditor General?
It is why certain issues have to be raised year in, year out. Do you get me? Because there's been not a stop. So that's what I can say it's been the outcome on me. And therefore, I'm prone to be questioned by Kenyans, or to be rubbished by Kenya, that, we've had this, you raise it year in, year out, so what? So the so what question is what I'm trying to answer through the citizen involvement in the auditing process.
Now, you talked about one of your lowest moments, and you mentioned about
Sorry?
Your lowest moment.
Yeah.
You talked about the petition that was placed before Parliament.
Yes.
But there's something else also. There was an attempt to have you charged. Could you also speak about that?
But I think it was all part of that process because there was one, the number of attacks. There was, first of all, the one which was being driven through the DPP. Then when that one didn't work, is when they mounted the petition. Do you get me? The process, yeah. So when the DPP said there was didn't see any reason to charge me, is when immediately after that the petition went to Parliament.
Has the process of auditing your office started? And
right, that is the outgoing Auditor General, Edward Ouko, talking to members of the press after serving his last day in office yesterday. And of course, he's expected to leave the office today. And of course, right there, Edward Ouko revisiting his tenure in office. Remember, he was appointed in 2011, and President Uhuru Kenyatta is yet to appoint a person who will be replacing the Auditor General. He's also given thumbs up to the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee of interrogating several cases of several, corruption cases that he has pointed out in different reports. Remember, during Edward Ouko's tenure, we've seen several county governors being probed by, the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee and, of course, the Senate Public Accounts Committee when it comes to utilization of public funds. So Auditor General's tenure ended yesterday. He leaves office today. And let's just look at the story that was filed by my colleague Moremi Mwangi yesterday, where the Auditor General, of course, Edward Ouko, yesterday served his last day in office ahead of his tenure, of his expiry of 8-year tenure today. And our reporter Moremi Mwangi revisits the tenure of the man who has arguably been the public watchdog against the financial leverage, and explains why Ouko and other governance stakeholders are concerned that the president is yet to name a successor to the office, which is strategic to his renewed war on corruption.
Close to 30 years experience in auditing, accounting and financial investigations, Edward Ouko must certainly not have been surprised when retired President Mwai Kibaki picked him on the 27th of August 2011 as the inaugural Auditor General under the 2010 Constitution, a non-renewable 8-year term which expires on Tuesday.
From the demands which I have, demands to audit when there is issues, they're looking for the Auditor General. From that point of view, I think the office is one which now resonates very much with the Kenyans.
But for a job that demands a hawk-eyed scrutiny on financial books of virtually all public offices, Ouko has been a marked man. In January 2017, Ouko decried what he called political witch hunt when anti-graft body EACC recommended his prosecution alongside his former deputy Stephen Kinuthia for alleged irregular award of 100 million shillings tender for procurement of an audit vault software. A state of affairs that saw Ouko summoned by the EACC before former Director of Public Prosecutions Keriako Tobiko cleared him and recommended prosecution of Deputy Auditor General Stephen Kinuthia for fraud and corruption. But a headwind of more troubles was blowing Ouko's way. In February 2017, city lawyer Emmanuel Mwagona petitioned Parliament to remove Ouko for alleged abuse of office, including suspected wastage of an accumulated 1 million shillings phone bill on his iPad and allegedly giving some of his 5 official cars to his wife and daughter.
We're petitioning Parliament.
Backed by his then advocate Dr. Otiende Amolo, Ouko fought for his job before the National Assembly Finance and Planning Committee, before the High Court blocked the proceedings after activist Okia Omutata filed a petition challenging Parliament's powers to debate Ouko's removal.
Tunamwambia Bwana Uhuru Kenyatta athubutu kushika Bwana Ouko. Akijaribu kushika Ouko, taifa yote ya Kenya itamuka.
But it is President Uhuru Kenyatta who got tongues wagging when he publicly ridiculed Ouko at State House during a leadership summit on corruption.
The US government have colluded. Na huyu anasema anataka kwenda
Article 229 mandates President Uhuru Kenyatta to pick Ouko's successor with the approval of the National Assembly. To be an Auditor General, one must hold extensive knowledge in public finance and at least 10 years experience in auditing or public finance management. Ouko, however, raises concern that the process for his replacement is yet to begin.
If there is no Auditor General when I leave 26, what it means there will have to be a void.
A void?
Yeah, because in my understanding of the Constitution is that there has to be an Auditor General. There cannot be acting Auditor General.
Holders of this office are not eligible for reappointment after expiry of their 8 years tenure. Murimi Mwangi, KTN News.
All right, so the tenure of the Auditor General has come to an end. President Uhuru Kenyatta is also yet to appoint the person who will be taking over that office. And that's a discussion we want to have with you this morning on our Twitter poll, where we ask you, how do you rate